Hey everyone, thank you for coming. I'm here to talk to you about Bloom, the new open source learning platform. So, start. Who are we? So, I'm from a company called Appitierre. We were established late 2014. We're based in Brighton. We're on stand 28 today, and we're the proud creators of the Evolve authoring tool. We also underpin and do the technology for the Learn Appeal capsule, which is out in the foyer. You might have seen that as well. So, when we looked at Bloom, and when we looked at creating a new LMS, we spoke to a lot of people in the industry. And the response we got was not another LMS. It was quite damning, in fact, when you're trying to create a product and people are saying, well, there's already 600 of them. Lots of companies already have an LMS. And most L&D leaders are happy with the LMS they actually have. But we know it's not really true. A lot of people aren't happy with their LMS. And in fact, what you do get a lot of conversations that start, I'm using LMS X, but. It's never, I'm using LMS X and. So what we did is we surveyed. Normally what would happen at this point is you hear a survey about how we surveyed lots of L&D leaders and got more insight. But we didn't. We actually surveyed 42 people who had started working in e-learning and L&D in the last year. So these are people that are coming into the industry, they've never used e-learning products before. And some part of their job involved working with that LMS. So I'm going to show you some pretty awful graphs, but the results are quite clear. So what do you think of your LMS? Very few loved it. It was okay, but, and dreadful was quite one that came up a lot. Did someone have to show you how to use it? Yes. And then you have the no, which is obviously less. And finally, my favorite, is it like other websites you use? No. So, we then got the people that were using the LMS, and we picked five that, who wished to be contacted. So, the five, we sent a big feature list of their LMSs, and we asked them to tick off the ones they used. Typically, it was 10 to 20% of their LMS. We then phoned them and contacted them, got in more detail about why they didn't use the other features. And a lot of the feedback we got is just, we don't need it in the org. It's not something we considered before. It was a bit of a buzzword during the sales process, but in reality, we never used it. So we thought, what if we created an LMS that just focused on the 10 to 20% and did it really well? So the things we had to consider, and when we looked and downloaded LMSs, was speed. And we started comparing it to what would happen if your website was slow. So we started using LMSs and we found them a little bit clunky, a little bit slow. Some were all right, to be fair. And obviously Amazon, if it was 100 milliseconds slower, then they would lose 1% in sales. And for $1 billion company, that's a lot of money. So if we applied the same thinking to an LMS, like how fed up do your users get? What's their general feeling towards the LMS that creates that angst that you often see? We then looked at the technology stack. So a lot of LMSs are server heavy, like websites used to be. If you think about computers and how they developed through the years, used to have these big heavy servers and not that powerful devices or home PCs. But it's kind of switched the other way. You've got very powerful devices, and really you want technology that harnesses the power of that device. So we looked to build an LMS that was light on the server, so easy to set up and quite affordable, but also scaled nicely on devices. And also the integration. A lot of the LMSs work on their own. You have your intranet, you might have your payroll HR system, and then you have your LMS. So we thought, how can we do it differently with Bloom? You hear a lot of companies say that they're mobile first, we're API first. So before we even wrote any of the screens, any of the front end, we focused just on building out the APIs you would use in Bloom. So we built the core within a month, and we actually got a content apprentice in to test our system. And we also put him against another popular LMS system with a list of tasks, such as, can you, without knowing anything about these systems, upload this zip file, which is your course? Half an hour later, in a popular LMS system, he still couldn't find how to upload his course. We then did the same with Bloom, and we reworked the UI and the UX until we got it right. So there were 3 steps to uploading the course. So what I'm going to do now is skip to a demo, and I'll show you what a learner sees when they log in Bloom for the first time. So this is Bloom with some branding. I'm just going to maximize this. So what we start off with is a hero image, really clean, simple UI. Now you can brand it up, you can change it. So there's two different ways to learn in Bloom. You have the recommended courses. Now these work on tags as you upload the courses itself. And the algorithm works quite nicely, and the UI is very similar to that of Netflix. So everyone's quite familiar with that UI. It starts to look like other websites that you've used before. We then have the more structured learning approach, where you can go through and click on different learning paths, and within there you have like the actual program, so leadership, etc. I can show you this induction one where you click through, and you get the different courses available, and you can click the courses. Now, one thing I mentioned about the courses, as I move through, so if I click on this one, they don't just have to be courses, they can be PDFs, they can be links online, they can be videos embedded. So it's not just about putting courses in there and putting authored courses. So if I move through this course, you'll notice it was only 7% there. And as I start going through, you'll see things start to complete, and you don't have to close the page. You can see it's progressing and saving as you go. So it's constantly hitting that API and recording your data back into the system. So I can go through and complete the course if I need to. And we can also set our completion on other things within the page rather than just on that. So this is just some of our content that was written using our authoring tool. So you can see we've gone through. The other thing you can do, if I skip back to that, so if we go into this one here, if I want to start a discussion, I can just come in here and create one. So how's everyone finding now what you can do here is as I do this and reply, you'll see that I can like it, find it helpful, I can report it. So if someone's saying I need my manager's help, you might want to report that. Likewise, if someone's posting something abusive, you might want to report that. But you can sort by oldest, newest, likes, and helpful. So it's in line with what you see where people collaborate and they build up content and they create almost like experts in their industries. So I could sort that by most helpful if I had things in there. Now the other thing I can do with Bloom is can also see all the discussions that we're having at that time and view all. And then we've also got course booking as well. So if you're setting up course sessions outside of your LMS, or you want to embed e-learning courses in there, you can do that as well. And you can click on there. It works with Google Calendar, works with all the calendars you have. It uses an ICS file, for example. And then the first thing you see when you log into Bloom, which I forgot to show you, as a learner, you'd see all these subjects, a bit like Twitter. So things I want to follow on Twitter, accounts you might like, and then as I tick these and untick other ones, it will personalize that recommended courses section for me. And you can see it's changed. These links at the top are fully customizable as is a dashboard, and these are all plugins. So if you have developers, because this is open source, you can actually develop these plugins further. So what I'm going to do is to show you this bit, and you've got your progress overall, and then you've got the last few course, and then a why not try, working off an algorithm. And then all the courses that you bookmarked. And at any time you can set up your preferences and change them. But if you want a more structured approach and you want to get rid of these pages, you can stick to the programs and then you can configure it. Now what I'm going to do is just show you how you configure some of that using the admin side. And the thing that I always forget to show, because I personally think it should be mandatory in every system, is the mobile side. So it all works responsively. You notice that subject overview is now into nice collapsible accordions. So yeah, if I hop over to the admin side, in the right browser, there it is. So this is what you see as an admin, very similar. So it's changed from your dashboard to home, and then you've got, instead of My Learning, you've got My Learners. Now I'll just pop into the dashboard here, just write this down. This is where I find my minimum resolution is too low. Yeah, this is interesting. Let's see if I can, oh, there you go. Right. So I can click on settings and go into the dashboard, and so I can drag and drop these items as and where I want to see them, and I've also got other plugins that I haven't got enabled, so recent news, for example, course bookings that I've got enabled. So if I just switch on dashboard tiles, this is another plugin we've got, and as soon as I've done that, it takes effect in the system immediately. So you can see we now start with our dashboard tiles, which I've set up. And these can be anything. So these can be links in your intranet, in your own internal systems. They don't just have to be to our website. So that's the dashboard. And as I mentioned on the My Learning side, you can configure what shows in there, as is with the programs and library. So I can display subjects as well as those courses. And when I flick back to that view and go into programs now, I'll have the ability to click on all my programs and courses. So you could do it where you just set it to playlists or just set it to courses, depending on how you want people to learn. The other thing I should show you in the discussion side, you can enable that and look at the discussions that are going on. And we also have language packs. Every bit of text that you can see in the system can be configured and changed here. You can assign a language to particular groups or particular learners, and they can see different text, depending on what department or depending on what country they're in. Also, we're starting with our integration side where we can embed things like Zendesk. So if you wanted your learners to log things directly, you can do that as well. So if I just pop to My Learners, we can have a little bit look at some of the reporting that we've got. So this is based on a system report. So this is data in the last week. You can see I've got 29,000 learners, 429 of them are active. And these are the amount of courses that together as learners they've gone through and completed, and our completion ratio. You can then break that down by hours of learning. And my favorite one is the groups, where you can go into each group. So the way that Bloom works is you put users into groups, and then you assign your programs and subjects and things like that into those groups. And you can be a member of more than one group. What we're doing in the next release is putting branding into the system where you can change all the bars and everything else without having to go into the code, as well as group level branding. So if you were thinking as an e-learning company, you wanted to set this up, you can have different clients in those groups and brand it appropriately. So if I just take a look at this, we'll start looking at the groups. We'll just break down to last week and see what happened. So you can see users added into that group last week, the active users in that group, the total users they've got there, and their most popular courses. Likewise, if you wanted to go to the granular level, we've always got the classic reporting of all of the learner detail, as well as the ability to drop and remove columns and add columns in. We also have custom columns, so when you upload your learners, or if you push your learners through the API, you can specify things that might be coming out of your payroll system. So, for example, this particular data has manager's payroll ID, and you'd be able to sort by your manager. So the reports are dynamic as well as custom, and they work off of the data that you feed into the system. So that's a very short demo of the system there. One thing I should say with courses and some of the stuff that I showed you, you can do a lot more with them. So for example, on the courses, and it comes into its own when you're working with groups. I can edit this course. Actually, I've done this one before, so let's edit this course. And I can go and put deadlines on there, so I can set a new deadline. I can then configure this the next week, for example, and put it in for these particular groups. I can then add a reminder. And I can add multiple reminders, and I can add multiple deadlines. And what this does, if you're using an email-based system with Bloom, is it will then email them as well as showing it in the dashboard. If you're not, because we do have clients that have, like for example, our large retail customer, a lot of their learners or their staff don't have email addresses in the company, so they log in with their payroll ID. So you can choose to have it flagging in the dashboard or with emails. The other thing is tracking. You can see which users have taken a course. Obviously, I've obfuscated all the data, but you could see the amount of learners there. And you can also view what tags those learners have on them, and as they change, as they move through Bloom. Any reports that I've shown you can be exported as CSV, so they're available in Excel, and then you can do your own data manipulation. We also have a reports API that you can call and extract into your own systems. So that was a very quick demo of Evolve. I'm happy to open up for some questions, but just before I do, I will let you know that you can get Bloom from bloomplatform.com. Sign up to the list there. What we're doing at the moment is we're doing an invite only to the source code for the next couple of weeks, just so that we can manage the crowd. So in the last, since Learning Technology, when we fired up the website, we've had over 250 companies apply for an open source version of Evolve. Bloom, sorry. So what we're doing is pushing Bloom just gently, and we'll, if you let us know your GitHub details, we'll add you into the repo, or we'll send you a zip where you can actually try out Bloom. So, any questions? Wow, I've never had that before. So yeah, I will say with the content at the moment, so a lot of people were getting is, does it accept SCORM? We're specifically not doing SCORM at this stage. We will do a SCORM plugin. So we're recommending you use our Evolve authoring tool. See what I did there? To start the content. And then we'll release, so it's really about helping our customers of Evolve get a really good LMS and a really good experience end to end. And then we'll release that SCORM plugin further down the line so you can use your older courses on. Okay. Well, I really don't have anything more to say, so it was a relatively quick one. I expected a lot more questions. Any questions from over there? So, a newsletter? So did you say about a newsletter? Sorry, I can't hear you. Oh yeah. So we do have a news feature as well. So we tried not to go too much into other systems because we appreciate organisations probably already have many systems. But yet you can publish out news articles as well. So and this can generate discussions based on that. So like you saw with the discussions, you can comment on that, and it encourages people to do a bit of microblogging. One thing I would say, and be careful when you use news or you use discussions, you need to be quite conscious that, like LinkedIn groups, they're quite hard to maintain. They're quite difficult to get that engagement, specifically if your e-learning is not necessarily exciting stuff. So yeah, by all means, that's why we have the ability to turn it on and turn it off and use it in the dashboard. So, well, I'm going to close up early if there's no other questions. And oh, we got one. Sorry? Oh yeah, so e-commerce is scheduled for August. So yeah, one thing I can show you is the roadmap. So with the open source roadmap, in July we've got single sign-on coming, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Google. We've got e-commerce coming at the end of August. This will allow you to sell your courses. So we've also got customized login page. So what you can do with that is add in your own plugins, similar to how you do on a website. So you can actually make this part of your website, so it integrates a lot more nicely with your existing systems. Oh yeah, see, I always forget this. You can tell I'm not focused on the money. So yeah, say for example you didn't want to host open source. What you can do is host with us, and this is one of the main points. Thank you so much for reminding me. What you can do is, we're going to be changing, and we like to change the market and how we do things. So you'll be able to, what I've shown you is the admin side. That is a super admin user. We're charging per super admin. And to go back to my point I raised earlier about keeping the server side small, we load test on a Raspberry Pi with Bloom, so we can get 300 learners concurrent on a Raspberry Pi. So what this allows us to do is price it differently. So it's £300 per super admin with unlimited users and 20 gigabytes of space if you wanted to host with us. We also have a hosting partner, Good Practice, because as a startup, we did get a little bit of a kickback of maybe hosting with a company that's only got 9 people in it. So yeah, Good Practice also hosts Bloom, and that's available anytime from them, but they charge and price differently to us. So, any other questions? No? Cool. Well, thank you all very much for coming. We're on stand 28. There's more information on Bloom and some flyers there if you didn't quite get the website, which is right here. And you can also see Evolve, which is our authoring platform, which is very similar to Bloom in its use and how to use it. So thank you very much.